juggles and all that great stuff. So it should be pretty exciting as wow, we are right on into game. It is Rascal Jester versus Sengoku here in our second game of the day, and we are just seeing bog standard point defense coming out early. Nothing like last game, no tricky 5-man stacks like we saw out of DFM.
No crazy warding from really anybody here. All defensive style. Paz playing that one way up into the top side. The only interesting thing here is that we've got Predator Veigar, so we are going to be doing the standard 2-item into the full tank build to then just try and get around the map more effectively. I mean, I do like the adaptation that Veigars are taking at the moment, and also Recap has gone cutest skin, so I mean, I'm just a fan. Best skin because of TFT as well. But at this moment in time, I'm going to be interested to see how all these two teams are going to kind of play up to 14. And then how is it going to progress out? Who had the advantages? And what does that mean really for the progression of this match? Because it's going to be a very difficult one to kind of predict because it kind of depends. Did Once get going or did Hachimecha get going? And that's the kind of angle and I'm going to expect to find us because Volibear is meant to be a counter to Xin Zhao. Like, that's just straight up what the idea and the option is. So is it going to effectively pan out, or is it actually going to be Sengoku have it? And I mean, that's just a hook already from Secret.
Yeah, that Glacial Augment going to be reducing Honey's ability to trade back, but as it is, that trade not necessarily really hard won by either side, just a little bit of a flirtation towards what will be coming as Blitz has decided that it is Rascal Jester who have the comp diff. But we saw how that line of analysis went for V3 last game. Didn't really pan out for them the way Blitzkrieg thought it would, but we will see, of course, as interestingly enough, it is going to be Once choosing to clear bot to top early game, whereas the push has been secured early from Rascal Jester, and they're bringing Volibear towards bot lane. I think the wave state won't quite be correct for them to force a dive. I think it's going to bounce out too early, but maybe a signal of things to come, what we were talking about, how this could be a very bot lane focused game.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, what's interesting about that pathing that you highlighted from the side of Once is, I mean, when you look at it, Ino is currently pushing pretty heavily into Paz at this moment in time, which is pretty standard for a Camille in the first few waves. So it kind of puts Paz onto this back foot. This is actually going to be beneficial because that's what they identified in the early lane. It allows Once to come up and hopefully be able to potentially find a gank. Volibear is going to this bot side and Sol and Secret are pushing in, so he's actually going to find very little outside of the Scuttle Crab, which is going to be an open trade anyway. So I'm actually of the opinion that matching these two jungle paths, kind of our two junglers doing the same, kind of works out more beneficial for Once at the early game, but it's going to depend on if we can find anything. Jet has also abused all of his mana and hasn't even, well, he's popped one of his top, one of the potions, but hasn't popped all of them yet, whereas Recap's actually had to use everything here so far, and it's, yeah, difficult for Veigar in the earlier game.
It certainly will be, but you don't pick Veigar so much for the early game. Just going to be stacking up that AP handily. Missed a couple of minions compared to Jet in the first few waves, but no big sweat, no big deal. Going to take that early back for his Predator boots, affect his early damage big time, and help him get those roam plays off. As things are mostly calm across the map right now. We saw some deep vision secured by Once in the topside jungle of Rascal Jester around that grump, so they'll have a pretty good idea where Hachimecha is going, what he is up to, as Paz just trying to force this shove in and get his base off.
Yeah, Paz did not manage his wave effectively enough for a freeze to actually keep it topside, so Once could do his full clear and actually rotate around. And I mean, the call was also just clearly made from the side of Sengoku. It's like, it's just not worth trying to find something and for you to skip red and to just try and come up for a straight gank because they just wouldn't have the power for it. So at this moment in time, Ino has had to go flash TP, so we haven't got an ignite, remember, which is common from a lot of Camille's at this moment in time. So it's going to help Paz significantly in this dueling aspect, whereas they've also gone flash TP, but you kind of have to as a Gnar in a lot of spots. So at the moment, we're quiet. We're basically identical on gold advantage.
It's measured.
Yeah, this just favors Rascal Jester because they just scale better. It is on the side of Sengoku to find the angles, and if we just play a very controlled game and everyone's kind of just mutually shaking objectives and advantages, that this only goes in the favor of Rascal Jester, because whereas Sengoku, they do fall off. Like, Xin Zhao will stop doing damage eventually. Like, he just will not be doing what the side of Volibear offers. When it comes to diving, it comes to elongated team fights, it comes to the fact that you just go big and you just can be this, like, soaking all this damage up, and you output a stun or two, and then suddenly Honey's dead, Jet's dead, and then the rest of your team's all dead.
Yeah, it's a scary one to be sure. We'll have to see if maybe this Rift Herald spawn at 8 minutes can do what it seems to so often do in the LJL and pull these teams together like a magnet and force them to fight. We see both junglers hovering around bot, sniffing around, trying to find some sort of action. Now the scout from Jet onto the Infernal Drake to see that nothing, no funny business is going on with that one. They're pulling out their leash, and I don't think once it started up, though. Just gonna let that reset. As I am having some connection issues, unfortunately. So
don't worry, mate. I can play by play, and there we go in straight away. Steal Secret lands that hook, but it won't actually amount to anything. Hachimecha goes down into bear form, look for an opportunity, but they're just going to clear the blue buff for once. Make sure they hand it over to Jet, and we're still thinking about this dragon. But actually, it looks like Hachimecha is just going to reset as Recap's actually got a push. All right, well, we'll just go back to the laning phase, Dodge. Just back to laning. Who even needs a dragon? They're overrated.
I love seeing people farm minions. It's my favorite activity in League of Legends. And let's be real, if we glorified the farming of minions in pro play over constant breakneck action, the world would be a better place, because more people would be concerned about farming minions in their solo queue games, and I wouldn't get griefed quite so often, which would be a nice, just a nice bonus to have. Now we are going to see the blue buff hand off. Hachimecha giving that one over to Recap, going to give him so much capability to shove this wave out now at the level 7 mark on the Vygar, get those W's raining down from the sky, hitting multiple minions, picking up some bonus AP for himself. As you've said all along, you know, the more this game stays quiet, the more it stays even-keeled, the more it favors the side of Rascal Jester in the long run. Because now Enti and Honey thinking about something, the tongue lash, Secret slowed up a little bit, but I think they know that they're basically flipping it if they engage in the 2v2 fight at this point. It's just gonna continue to be the extended lull state, the best kind.
Yeah, and this so far, Sol has been able, out of these 8 minutes so far in this game, been able to come out to about a lane worth of CS advantage, but they're going for it now.
Yeah, that's Enti ticking down. Unfortunately, the tech issues persist as the Moonlight Vigil comes out, so I'm gonna hand it over.
Honey goes for it, he pushes forward, but he's not able to find the extra bit of damage, but guess who has flash? It's gonna be Honey, and he always loves to go for these flashing knights. Oh my god, hook lands from Secret, and they get the first blood! So, what are you doing? That's a double kill for the side of Rascal Jester in the bot lane. Secret grabs the first one, solved for the second, and Hachimecha was shadowing that whole time. It means that Hachimecha is going to be able to come up to this bot side, up to this mid lane, and then think, hey, why not I just do this dragon as we come into this replay, and the hooks from Secret are clean. And you mentioned this is why people take this Nautilus to get Xerries, right? But he does the reverse. He just did it onto Enti, and they just played the fight straight up, immediately popping the ultimate. So Sol was getting all that extra damage, the extra movement speed and everything. Moonlight Vigil comes out, but only lands onto Sol, and it wasn't on the correct gun either. It was on his green gun. It wasn't on blue gun, so doesn't get the same effect. But this max range hook changes the game. Flip the script, I believe is the saying commonly, as we come in for again. Oh my god,
speaking of hooks. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
there.
no, mate. I thought you could take it. Hell no.
No.
Fine.
My apologies. The hooks have just been so compelling from Secret so far. It's been a masterclass in Nautilus come over here moves. As you know, Rascal Jester, they're the ones finding these early advantages. That is the exact opposite of what you want if you're rooting for the Sengoku boys in red. And yeah, it's not looking great when the Zeri is the benefactor of that early gold in those early plays as well.
It's not. I am going to ask our producer, can you check the Discord chat? But outside of checking Discord chats, I mean, this is just phenomenal from the side of Rascal Jester. You mentioned it, they don't want that. You can't have them have the early game lead. And what's even better is this feels like it's a new page for Rascal Jester so far. Like, this game feels different from their other games, like that we've seen this spring split so far. They felt like sometimes they were in control, but against like Burning Core most recently, it felt like they were always playing like a step behind. They weren't playing the same way that they had played. And remember, 4 out of these 5 members were in the original version of Rascal Jester from 2020, where they 2021, where they looked so strong, they looked so dominant. They're starting to feel like that same version again, that same vibe is going. And the fact that Aino is able to play the same champion pool that Kinatsu plays is a really useful advantage for them. They have dueling in the top lane, whereas a lot of other top laners in the LJL, they don't play these dueling champions like the Camille. Aino will do that. Very few other players in the region will do that outside of Ebi and Kinatsu. So this is fantastic for Rascal Jester, and I'm really happy to see it, because I was so worried that maybe they weren't the same version. They weren't the same team that we all loved and expected to have a top 3 performance from.
Yeah, Rascal Jester just traditionally one of the better teams in the history of the LJLs. We see the engage come straight in from Enti onto Hachimecha. He has no fear. He gobbles him up, and he will spit him back. Now, once coming in, going to find the kill on over to Honey. So Sengoku do find one back for themselves there. Nice little play around that Dragon Pit, and the gold lead has been entirely equalized with the usage of that Rift Herald on that mid lane tier 1. But, it is, heartwarming to see, as you do point out, Swan, that Rascal Jester's still up for the challenge, looking strong so far in this game, because Sengoku and Rascal Jester are kind of seen as the only teams that might have the possibility, based on performance so far, of standing up to DFM in the long run. But before I even have a chance to do that, once is already here. They're going after Aino under the turret. They will find him, and now the TP coming in from Recap is just a little bit too late. Nothing to be found for him, so it's the answer right back, and now it's the gold lead for Sengoku.
All right, this is the kind of changing the script, flipping it around, finding some options and angles, and getting some gold around the map. Important that it's on that Xin Zhao, because you do need to start getting first items and mythics in place, because this is where Sengoku's power spikes start coming in.
Yeah, definitely going to be a little bit more interesting now that they have found some of that early advantage that you were speaking about in the draft phase. Going to be trying to leverage this advantage now. Can't let more Drakes get away from them. That is certainly going to be a big leverage point on the map. But as we went back to, between these two teams, they're kind of on opposite, slides of momentum. Sengoku, after taking that L from DFM in week 1, has only been climbing up. Rascal Jester looked to rebound for a while after their loss to DFM in week 1, but then they've kind of been on the backslide. They need to sort of get things back on track, and this win would be such a huge way of doing just that, and going to be very, very critical for them to do so, as we are just getting some tech stuff sorted out, but I think we do have a clean stream now. Big thank yous to Temporal for that. But now it is just going to be a matter of waiting for this Cloud Drake to spawn onto the map, going to force these teams together to fight over it, and that's when the fireworks will begin, Swan.
At this moment in time, though, Rascal Jester still have that they still have the Infernal Drake. Cloud Drake is coming up in a minute. We are 5 minutes behind where those dragons should be, Dodge. Like, this is not what the script was. Remember, we did that awkward fight at 7 minutes and we didn't go for it. But recap, oh dear.
Yeah, that is now Volibear coming over the top. Once going to be taken down. Assuming we're synced, it is going to be a bit of a difficulty to get that done.
And he's got Moonlight Vigil.
Yeah, I think I'll just let you take it from here, unfortunately, Swan, because I am having a rough
That's
time.
alright, mate. I mean, Honey is currently looking up. They are going to start this dragon up, and it seems like the side of Sengoku Gaming aren't going to fight this. But I mean, hey, Enti's coming around. There's a TP coming in from the side of Paz, and are they going to stop that? No, the TP does get cancelled as they come in. Megadar was stopped, prevented, but however, Enti eats up Jet, saves him from doing it. Oh my god, Moonlight Vigil comes out. They do get a kill over onto Jet, pushing forward. Though Soul is so scary. Protect your Honey, boys, or he's gonna get rooted down. Oh my god, Soul, what are you doing? Mad lads, get him out. And Soul finds it at the end. What the F? Oh, preventing that teleport from Paz, who had the mega, was huge. I know, I don't know what you did for it, but You save that team fight for your side. Huge pickup. And important thing to note, Dodge, Hachamecha got that Cloud Drake.
Yeah, and you know what's really important about picking up that Cloud Drake as your second Drake means there's no chance it's the Cloud Soul. So going to secure themselves.
As well.
That was a hero play to stop that TP from coming through. Coming out from the top laner of Ino there. But yeah, it's going to be Ocean Soul coming out. So Rascal Jester, with their inherent scaling advantage already, starting the Drake stacking with a very powerful Soul, could be very big news for them, as now the second Rift Herald is on the map. So we see that nice little snipe that Soul did manage to find over onto Honey over the wall with Zeri, very balanced champion. But now we might see even more team fighting real soon over Shirley. See if she can be unleashed to start cracking down some of these tier 1s, find a first turret bonus for one of these teams.
If you're going to stack gold onto any champion, Zeri is probably the most scariest one at this moment on 12.3 to put all your eggs into one basket. I mean, if you're Sengoku, you're looking at Soul at the moment going, yeah, that's the one guy we didn't want to put all the gold on. Like that's like the one guy. If it's on the Veigar, fine. Recap just has press R, kill somebody, but we can actually deal with that hilariously. Like we have tools. Tom Kent, if NT is fast enough, we can just eat them and prevent that ult. Like we actually have options and angles out of that. Soul having all the gold, this is more difficult. He's got a lot of peel, as we've already mentioned. There's that cage. There's NT with the secret with the hook. Hachamecha can just be a real awkward bodyguard. Ino is happy to dive really deep, as we've already seen when there's just in the 1v1 versus pass. He's willing to flash ult to prevent a TP from coming in. So he's willing to do whatever his team requires him to do. So when you can imagine the team fights, Ino will just push, TP in, and we'll just play the front line, or we'll try and find the flanks. Even if he dies, if Soul's able to get a few kills going, it could be devastating. I love the build path as well from Soul. I mean, it's the only build path from 12.3 for Zeri, so everything's just coming up, Soul. And Honey, what are you going to do here, buddy? You're not on your Jinx, so it's a bit more awkward, but you're on an Aphelios, you've got hyper carry potentials, and we do know what you can do. It's just these first items, it's not the same kind of champion. Zeri versus Aphelios just isn't the same, and this isn't Mr. 200 years from a season ago, really.
Yeah, definitely not, as Rascal Jester are going to pick up that second Rift Herald for themselves. Plates having fallen 4 minutes ago, not going to be as valuable, especially if one of their tier 1s gets cracked before they can use it to do the same, but going to be interesting to see what lane they do put that down into, if they are going to continue the funneling into Soul, right, as you mentioned. And I think there are two variations. They're very slight, but there are two variations, right, of the Zeri build, and I quite like this one, where you take that Tiamat into what looks to be Titanic Hydra, based off of that giant spell, as opposed to the Ravenous Hydra, which I don't like quite as much. I think you needed more tank stats as opposed to the sustain from the Ravenous. But yeah, as it's all as you pointed out, Soul is just, you know, running the map so far, and we've said that maybe him and Secret need to separate a little bit, but between the hook plays and the Zeri always being there, it feels like to follow up, definitely doing wonders for them so far in this game. Yeah. As Paz locked up under turret, Secret flashing, going to get that ult out. The depth charge come follow him all the way. I know over the wall to get him. That was a nice sequence of plays coming out from Rascal Jester. They pick up another one around the top side. Paz punished for his impudence.
Yeah, and going really deep there, and Hachamecha being there, Secret going up, like, so much difficult side for the side of Sengoku Gaming, and Paz just getting called out for being a bit too far up, not having full availability, not having deeper vision. Like, he's got the river warded. Yeah, cool, but if you don't use that vision to know that Secret's coming up and get away more effectively, yeah, that just happens. He walked the long way, and you paid the ultimate sacrifice, Paz, and was it worth it? Would you do it again? Because I don't think you would, buddy, and Enty's trying to find and dip, duck, and dive, but it's going to be really hard for the side of Sengoku to actually find something when you don't really have much engage. Like, what is your engage? Nah finding a flank?
It's so conditional.
Once going forward, Enty being core JJ and just landing a two-man knock-up on a Tom Kench. Like, you got to be kind of cracked to do it, but, I mean, this is one way to get them to come into you. Start that dragon first.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely so, but once maybe getting a bit dissuaded from continuing to do that dragon. And it's interesting, Swan, because this is a point I always bring up, is they are right back on the dragon. They're going to pick it up for themselves, a nice little takeaway, but can Rascal Jester do
the
anything
TP.
about it?
Mega in!
The cage, though.
The cage is
Ooh,
strong.
empty with the save.
But I mean, Hachimechi's just going to keep coming forward. He's going to go golden to prevent it, but Soul is still empowered. He popped that ultimate at the very beginning, and he's jumping over the wall. He's looking for everything. Jet, you're taking a lot of damage. Oh my god, Enty, you're taking even more. I know, it's looking for it. So much Moonlight Vigil comes out, but they're able to just force that turret. Oh my god, Honey, you are playing out your mind. And the mid turret does go down, but Honey was the benefactor. 2 kills over the side of Sengoku and that dragon. Losing the mid turret is not ideal, but we're 21 minutes into this game. It's a fine trade, relatively speaking, because you've been knocking on that mid door for a long while for the side of Sengoku, so you're probably going to get that trade anyway. And actually, overall, favored Sengoku. It was on a knife's edge for a lot of that, but Dodge, they came out on top, and they needed that one. They really needed it.
Yeah, they pulled off the heist, so to speak, and it goes back to, as we do see the TP come in from Paz, and he gets the nice Mega Gnar ultimate to find a stun and just deliver Hachimecha where they need him. And then Enty, of course, as we pointed out in the pre-show and in draft, right? He's such a good Tahm Kench player, able to peel for his team there, take one for the team, and gives, gives that peeling presence to get his team out in that situation. Let them pick up that win that they oh so desperately needed to stay afloat in this game. But it goes back to execution, as we were talking about right before that dragon fight, which is that it's so much harder to execute and engage from the side of Sengoku. And I talk about this all the time when I'm casting North American Amateur. I didn't think it would be a point that would need to be applied to the LJL level, but sometimes it's true that you need to cast or draft yourself non-conditional engages. There's some action going down.
Oh, there absolutely is. It looks like the side of Sengoku really do want to keep forcing this. And I mean, Honey with that Gale Force was able to find so much damage. They've gone from the Lord Dominix, which is normally a slightly further item along the build path. But I mean, hey, we don't go collector here. Honey is not a collector gamer, so I mean, we don't have to worry about that one. So, I mean, the Infinity Edge just comes in a bit later. You don't have as much crit, and I'll be honest, I wondered the direction of the build that will go. He might, my assumption is he's going for the Lord Dominix into the IE, but we'll have to see. I mean, Honey is kind of a mad lad when he does do his build sometimes. He goes for non-conventional things, but I mean, a lot of the time it works out because they're 6-1 at the moment, and there's going to be a dive onto Ino at this moment in time. Paz just taking so much damage under the turret. Mini Gnar, not tanky, but wants to go in again. Mega is popped, and the cage is thrown out there. Amazing Xin Zhao ultimate to dissuade the side of Rascal Jester, but Hachimecha still goes in. They eat him up. Does Enty to prevent it, but he throws him into the cage. That's not where you want to go, but the shield is able to do it. Shockwave coming out, and that's onto 3 members of the side of Rascal Jester. But who's left alone? It's Soul, and he's just going forward. 1, 2, 3. That's another one. He's going to go forward. That's another kill. Double kill over to the side. It's a full ace for the side of Rascal Jester, and it was looking so good, Sengoku. But I think I'm just taking Infinite Dodge's job here. Oh my, buddy. What a game.
It's been a great one. I wish I could see it in a little bit clearer frames per second, but I got the gist of that fight, and it was definitely, I mean, what cooldown was Recap's cage on in that fight? The man casts it once, right? We see early, and interestingly enough, ironically enough, it forces Once's Crescent Guard to not fall victim to being poked in the cage, and then it immediately goes back down.
Yeah, no, that cage, and then the fact that it double went down as Once and Enty were gonna go forward, right? Like, he spits him out into the cage. Honestly, that might be the spot where it kind of goes from bad to worse, because you don't notice it because so many champions are piled up. Once and Enty. Honey was also trapped in that cage. So there was just so much time for the side of Rascal Jester to go, we just reposition. And yeah, that's how you have almost 6k damage in a 24-minute team fight. Like, you're not meant to have that much damage, but Zeri just outputs stupid damage, especially when you have the tier mat and everything, right? With the stacks and going with the Hydra, it's just so hard. You just do so much damage.
And I quite like this, Swan. He's gone, has Soul, for Blade of the Rune King. In lieu of, as we see another engage, I'll hand it right up and over. No.
We're
Things
swapping roles
staying,
for this card, mate. We're swapping roles.
indeed. Things staying nice and calm for now. But I really do like that adaptation because Blade of the Rune King on 12-3 did get that buff, right? It is a little bit more effective just in general. But specifically, it is more effective on ranged champions now. I think it went from 6% max health damage on hit to 8%. Zeri loves those on hit items, makes good use of them. So definitely good pickup in place. Instead of having a Ravenous Hydra, you pick up the Titanic Hydra for the tank stats, you take the Blade of the Rune King for the sustain, and you pick up the Ocean Drake of your Rascal Jester to put yourself on Salt Point.
Yeah, they had a bit of a hiccup. Remember, they did seed over that first Ocean Drake over to the side of Sengoku, or rather, once took it way faster than they were expecting. But with this Baron buff, it's going to be so difficult for the side of Sengoku to really find anything. And it's going to be interesting to see how Sengoku are going to respond, because they do have some of the tools. This game isn't away from them, but considering now that there is a 5k 6k gold lead over onto their side, they're going to find something. But hey, that's a really deep ward, so deep. This is how far we're having to zoom out. The turret is taken, Moonlight Vigil comes out, damage poke is there.
Yeah, I've seen this fight before. Anti goes right on in. That is already the Zeri taken out, taken away. Now Secret going to be knocked into the wall by the Gnar. Ino trying to find the dissuasion, trying to find the hookshot in. Will follow with the Hextech ultimate and pops him with the Q2. But will you trade your life for getting chased down? Honey with the long range, with the gravitum, can find the root. The press the attack is proc, but no, Ino just gets away. But it's Recap and Secret on their lonesome. Empty licking them down, chasing them away. Look at the Alcove Gaming coming out. Can the back be taken? Oh my god, Honey got out? What just happened there as Enti did chase, or not Honey, rather, no, Soulfowl. My apologies. I had to hop right back into the play-by-play side of things as we finally got the stream all sorted out. But that was a banger of a fight. They took down Soul. That was a big win for the side of Sengoku. Keeps themselves in this game.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact is there's a shockwave that gets placed here, and it doesn't quite go the way of Sengoku Gaming. Fantastic, though, that they're able to literally melt the side of them immediately. But look, that shockwave just goes out, misses Ino when he comes out, and that would have literally flipped the script. If it just goes immediately, Ino's dead, Recap and Secret get collapsed on almost immediately. Doesn't happen. It means that with this empowered back, Recap is just able to get back to his... Oh no, he actually TPs.
Okay,
so that's how he's able to get out. Yeah. Recap.
I was confused for a moment there, but we are back in the swing of things. We're ready to be our normal selves again. I'm taking Masked Swan's mask off, giving it back to him. Right. He can do the color. I'm in my play-by-play zone. But yeah, that swing of things was decent for Sengoku in terms of what they did pick up, but this is still the gold lead here. Quite, noticeably so for Rascal Jester. It is 6k, the advantage for them. They're on the Soul Point. Even though the Zeri was shut down, Soul is still looking huge. Now building towards Black Cleaver, I would assume, based off of the Caulfield's Warhammer and the Ruby Crystal sitting there in the inventory.
Yeah, and it's fantastic because if you are going to be playing the split push, then we've got double Hullbreaker. It's just like, hey, let's just remove any form of armor that Mega Gnar has. It also means Mini Gnar is basically a piece of plastic, according to, well, a piece of paper, actually. It's not even flimsy. It's just, you can cut through it with her legs. Camille's very effective at doing this, and I mean, considering the gold advantage as well that the side of Rascal Jester has appreciated over this game, with this Ocean Drake Soul almost being up. This is now Sengoku need to find the problem solve. You're 6k down. Honey has got the items. He's got the gold now. He's got that Infinity Edge. We're getting to this place where this next fight will probably determine who's winning and who's losing. If Sengoku get it, there's a chance. There's absolutely a chance, Dodge. But if Rascal Jester come out even slightly on top, I'm willing to say it's probably a bit doomed for Sengoku.
Very much so, as we are just waiting on that purple worm to hit the rip, but now the turret falls and Sengoku moving forward, but that Vanguard page so good at dissuading the run right at him strategy, and now that's the first move for Sengoku, at least towards the Baron. They can get some vision down. I think it'll be the timing, the tempo not quite right to start that one as it spawns. We'll give Rascal Jester time to secure mid priority and then move in and sweep out any of that vision. Did get the Scuttle Crab though, and you can't sweep that one away.
No, and that was actually fantastically played by the side of Sengoku Gaming because they knew the timers and they were like, well, we can force in, we can just kind of pressure it. We know that Ino is just going to keep split pushing here, so we can kind of allow them to split push. We can then collect that wave as long as we get back out on the map. This is now where they have to be asking the question back over to the side of Rascal Jester of like, how are we going to get back out onto this map? Important thing to note, Jet is 16 now, so he has hit a damage spiking point, but Recap and Ino have been there for a while, and another big difference. Soul 16, Honey's 14. So these two AD carries are not built the same. They're built different. They're going to be doing different damage, and I mean, look at this dragon. It's just going.
Yeah, RJ, first to the Drake, first to the objective. They pick up the soul. Now the max distance dredge line on to Enti, but Secret thinking better of moving any further forward. Rascal Jester have claimed their prize, and they're ready to back on it. Meanwhile, the ping's coming out from Sengoku towards the Nasher. I don't know if this is a little too late.
I mean, they've got to go for something. They didn't get the fight they needed. They had to fight there, but they were just too slow back out onto the map. So now it's kind of like, well, either we get the Baron or we lose this game anyway, because there's Soul. We can't beat this Ocean Soul, so they're going to have to just find it. And look, I know it's just split pushing this whole time. It's so low. Rascal Jester, hello?
Yeah, the cage coming out, but look, Hache Mecha too late into the pit. Going to have to flash right back over the wall, but now Secret not wanting to let them go away. Gets Gnar ulted into the wall, but that's already Paz going golden. Once will fall. God. Paz trying to escort the exit, but Honey was free firing, but not any longer. No, he returns it on to Soul. It's 80 carry versus 80 carry combat, but the Hextech ultimatum locks him in place to seal his doom. Paz getting chased away, will get cut down in his prime. That is 4 members taken off the board for Sengoku. That's the TP coming into the top lane. So the Nasher was secured, but the power play is pitiful. You only have 1 member left with the buff, and this base should fall on the back of that fight.
Honey had such good opportunity. The issue is so many of his members were already low to almost dead. They got collapsed upon, and I know I was a bit perplexed why he actually did decide to come and join his team, but it all wasn't for naught. But look at this.
That was a slick little pun there, as it was for not to dredge line in, find the route onto Jet. He will be the next to fall. As I swear, Recap's using a cheat code. These cages just on repeat, boom, 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 as the Nexus will go boom as well. That's the win picked up for Rascal Jester. They reset their momentum. They stop Sengoku in their tracks, and they